vigilantism. What happens when someone takes justice into their own hands? Assassination, radical extremist. Moira halacha lifnei rabbi. He said halacha in front of his rabbi without asking questions. How did Pinchas do? He kills Shlomi ben Surishad, who could have killed him. And what does he do? He gets the Nobel Peace Prize. Bisi Shalom, Pinchas u Eliyahu. Why? How does it come from this that he gets Shalom, that the Shalom will go kill somebody? Parshas Korbanos. Second question. Every single Musaf of every Moyed is in this week's Parsha. What's the connection to Pinchas? The third thing is Bnos Tzlafchad, which is found 4 times in Tanakh. Once in Parshas Pinchas, once in Parshas Maseh, once in Parshas Shoftim, and once in Divrei Hayom. So twice in Bar Midbar and Shoftim and Divrei Hayom. What does it say? Bnos Tzlafchad. Now, who were these people? Who were these girls? We'll talk. But Shechovavu Eretz Yisrael, Rashi says, they loved Eretz Yisrael. How do you see that they were Chovavu Eretz Yisrael? So we have 3 questions. Pinchas Eliyahu. Pinchas gets Brisi Shalom. Ma'kesher. How do we understand that? Parshas of Korbanos. Why? And number 3, Bnos Tzlafchad. How exactly do they love Eretz Yisrael? The Zohar says the most amazing idea. The neshama of Nadav and Avihu goes into Pinchas. Now let's talk about this for a second. Nadav and Avihu wanted to go high. Zohar says they went very, very high. They connected to Hashem on the highest level. They completely separated and sacrificed, and they acted in a way of complete love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the issue wasn't what they did. They were allowed to do that, and they should do that, and every person should try to do that. But the problem was that Hashem didn't tell them to do it. So you can't try unless Hashem tells you to do. What does Hashem tell you to do? The neshama, he was Moira halacha lefnei rabbi, and Pinchas's neshama leaves him. He also was exactly Asher lo yitziva. And the neshama of Nadav and Avihu, which was bein adam lemokom, goes into him, which was bein adam lechaveroi, between man and his friend. And that was to be mataken ois bris kodesh, and he was to be mataken all the korbanos. All the korbanos came back, and the Chanukas HaMishkan was done with the neshamas of Nadav and Avihu. Just like Michael and Shemayim, his makriv korbanos of tzadikim, the Chanukas HaMishkan was done ayidei the neshama of Nadav and Avihu, and it was nishlam with the Maisa of Pinchas. So the Maisa of Pinchas was a Maisa Me'ilah also from Nadav and Avihu. So it had both those issues. Says Eliyahu is the Ratzain of Maisa. Says the Chadush Arim, Chas v'Shalom, you can't use kas. Is that the message? You can get angry, go kill people. Is that the message of the Torah? Says the Chadush Arim, kas only works. A person could have kas for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That only works if he never uses kas for other things. But if a person gets angry all the time, kas is anger. If a person gets angry, it doesn't work. It's not effective. Think about it. If a person never ever yelled at anybody, his whole family, and then one day he yells, everybody stops, everybody listens, he's yelling, whoa, that works. So to wake up, the whole thing over here is to wake up. So he says, the most amazing thing, says the Chadush Arim. He says that if a person already misuses anger, so what should he do? V'kara kriya Shema. He should say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And what that means is, Shebereach Odom L'Shroshay. A person should go back to his roots. What does this mean? Shemoitzer nafshoy v'chayov l'Hashem Yisbarach, says the Chadush Arim, that he gives over his nefesh and his chayav, his thoughts and his actions. He gives it over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shemevatel kol atzmo l'ktushas Hashem Yisbarach. He completely surrenders everything, his entire identity. He says, Hashem, you take this. This is too big for me. But in Pinchas, it was had such kinah that he didn't look at himself. He had such anger, and he didn't realize that he was in danger. And that's what the Zohar says, that the Yud in the word Pinchas, it says there's a little Yud in the word Pinchas. Pei Yud, and the Yud is very small. That's the Ikr Nakuda in the Lev of Yisrael. That's Libu Rachman Rabban. Hashem wants the inside little dot. Bnos Tzlafchad, what was Bnos Tzlafchad? And that's the Korbanos. Before we get to Bnos Tzlafchad, that's the Korbanos. The Korbanos was the Chanukah of the Mishkan. The Chanukah of the Mishkan, all Korbanos will always be after the Korban of Pinchas and the Korban of Nadav and Avihu. The Hashlama of Ben Adam L'Mokim, Ben Adam L'Chaver. What were Bnos Tzlafchad? Bnos Tzlafchad were for Shevet Menashe. Shevet Menashe, who is Menashe? When Yosef told Menashe, go take the cup and hide it in the sack of Binyamin. And then when the brothers saw the sack, they ripped their garments, says the Medrash, You caused, Menashe, you caused the brothers to rip their garments. Your nation, your land will be divided. Your tribe will be divided. Half of Menashe was in Chutz La'aretz and half was in Eretz Yisrael. Guess where? The 5 daughters of Tzlafchad. Tzelafchad is the opposite of B'tzalel, says the Zohar. You have B'tzalel, B'tzalafchad. Where was B'tzalafchad? Where were these 5 daughters? What does it say? They loved Eretz Yisrael. Their chelik was in Chutz La'aretz. They waited 14 years to get a smaller apartment in Eretz Yisrael. They said, no, we're not taking the big house in Chutz La'aretz. And they said, the Medrash says that they had a huge property in Chutz La'aretz. And even more than this, the Chazal tell us that really Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, when they came to Eretz Yisrael, there was mischaret. They said they regretted it. They said, how could we ever have taken a chelik in Chutz La'aretz? But l'shem shemayim, they went yoytze chalutzim. They said, we're going to come, we're going to stand up, and we're going to fight for Bnei Yisrael. We're going to stand and show our greatness. That's why Tzlafchad is mentioned and so dear, and the Torah finishes Parshas Maseh, the second to last pasuk, the entire last parsha of the Torah, before it says the final closing pasuk, Ve'ela advarim asher diber Hashem ba'aretz Moab. Before that words, the last message is the entire parsha of 10 psukim, and the last pasuk says, the last pasuk of the entire Torah says, Bnos Tzlafchad. Bnos Tzlafchad from Shevet Menashe, who came half from Chutz La'aretz, half from Eretz Yisrael, and they said, we don't want to be in Chutz La'aretz. We want to be with you, Hashem. And that's exactly the point of Pinchas, and that's exactly the point of Nadav and Avihu, and that's exactly the point of Korbanos. And that's why the Torah finishes with this, because Liba Rachmana Boi, whatever sacrifice, Pinchas gave up his life. Nadav and Avihu gave up their life. But Hashem said, Nadav and Avihu, we don't want you to give up your life. But Pinchas, we don't want you to go killing people. That's why Vayikach, he picked up his thing, and it was Shaloya Ka'alocha. We're not radical extremists. We're not vigilantism. But that was the message. The message is Liba Rachman Aboy, be like Tzlafchad. And it wasn't just with Eretz Yisrael, it was Chivivu. They had a Chaviva. They loved it. They wanted to go high, but in order to go high, you have to go down. You have to go deep, and that's why Nadav and Avihu, who was so high, went down to Pinchas, who was so low. He went to the lowest place to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim through Kedusha. The Machane should be Kadosh. But it came from a place that he was Meiser Nefesh. The issue over here wasn't that he killed. The issue is that he didn't realize that he was in danger, that he could have been killed. Have a good Shabbos.